My stepdaughter wore black to the wedding and my wife says I ruined everything. I, 48M, needed some input. My wife, Linda, 40F, was the maid of honor for my cousin Susan, 38F. We've been together for 10 years, married for 7, and we have 2 children together, 5M, 4F, along with my stepdaughter, Tiffany, 16F. Tiffany is very goth/emo. She pretty much only ever wears black. Even her pajamas will at least have evil Hello Kitty on them. Linda is very detail and image oriented and can be a bit of a micromanager. She gets very hung up on weddings. She was a bit of a bridezilla at ours, and I joked that Susan had made her maid of honor because she needed a bridal attack dog. She wasn't amused and I stopped making that joke. In the time leading up to the wedding, my wife was fighting with Tiffany over what Tiffany would wear to the wedding. Linda wanted her to dress normal, and Tiffany refused. Linda ultimately gave her an ultimatum to pick out an acceptable dress or she would just pick one for her. Tiffany still refused to budge, and this ended up with Linda going out on her own and buying a peach dress that was completely outside of Tiffany's style and telling her that this was what she was wearing to the wedding. The day of the wedding, Linda's maid of honor duties had her with the wedding party super early in the morning and gone all day. I was going to meet her there along with my stepdaughter. I dropped off our younger kids with my eldest daughter. I did a couple of quick errands, and I got back to our house just in time to leave if everything went smoothly. When I got there, Tiffany was not wearing the peach dress, but instead she was wearing a fancy black dress that was much more like what she normally wears. Lace sleeves, kind of a corset thing going on, longer in the back than in the front, basically what I would have expected her to wear to a wedding. I asked her if this is what her mom said she could wear, and she said not to worry about it and that it was too late to change anyway. I tried telling her that she should change into the other dress, but she said that there wasn't enough time, and changing dresses would take forever, and furthermore that her makeup wouldn't match the other dress anyway. Tiffany does spend a lot of time on makeup, and while I'm not an expert I guess even I could tell that her hair, makeup, and accessories wouldn't match the other dress, even if there was time to change it all. We were already on the verge of running late so really there was nothing I could do about it. We just went with Tiffany and the dress she was wearing. We arrived at the ceremony, and Linda was kind of preoccupied with helping Susan and all that, but she low-key grilled me about what Tiffany was wearing. And I just shrugged and explained to her the situation as it was. She was already wearing this dress, already had her hair and makeup done. Makeup wouldn't match the other dress and there was no time to change it all etc. Nothing to be done about it at this point. She didn't have a whole lot of time to hang around and talk with me with everything going on. Tiffany got some looks, but she always does. She does stand out a bit, as you might expect. People seemed mostly fine with her though. Tiffany rode with me to the reception. She had been studiously dodging her mother as much as possible. Shortly after we were there, I noticed Tiffany's best friend Bethany, F16, hanging around in a slightly more understated goth dress. Apparently she drove herself and Tiffany helped her crash the party. It was a big venue with a lot of guests and she was pretty easy to ignore. My wife and my cousin both work for my dad's company, so I was at a table with him and some of their other co-workers. He noticed that Tiffany had snuck Bethany in and alerted me, when he elbowed me, pointed, and said, "They are multiplying." Throughout the reception, Tiffany and Bethany were taking photos of each other, mostly Bethany taking them of Tiffany. Her mom got on her again, but with the wedding planner somehow Mia, she couldn't devote too much attention to them. She told me to handle them and that they were drawing too much attention. They agreed to tone it down, and they were much more subtle/subdued after that. Bethany had a collapsible camera stand stick thing she had been setting up around different places and she either stopped using it or stayed out of the way more. Both of them seemed to just stay out from underfoot too much. Linda gave me a few looks during the wedding itself and the reception, but she was very busy and she seems to have put on a face to keep from adding to drama during the day, but she laid into me on the way home. She was upset that I let Tiffany come to the wedding looking like a vampire and drawing attention to herself. She said I knew she was supposed to wear the other dress and not be in so much makeup. To hear her tell about it, Tiffany was a total spectacle, and her appearance was totally inappropriate. Linda said that it's never appropriate for a guest to wear black to a wedding, that Tiffany's dress was too eye-catching, that she was embarrassed and mortified, and that I let Tiffany do whatever she wants. She said that I shouldn't have let Tiffany and her friend turn the wedding into a cosplay event and the reception into their private photo shoot. In my defense, yes, I knew they had been fighting about Tiffany's dress and makeup, but I had been doing errands that Linda gave me before I got home, and when I got home, Tiffany was already dressed. We didn't have a whole lot of time, and I know from experience that she can take quite a while changing clothes or doing makeup. As I mentioned, she said that her makeup wouldn't match the other dress anyway. She didn't draw that much attention at the wedding. Sure, she got some looks. She always does, but it was nothing major. Her and her friend hardly turned the reception into a private photo shoot. Mostly it was just Bethany taking some photos. Tiffany did kind of awkwardly hang around the photographer until he took some pictures of her, but it wasn't enough to derail anything. By that point it seemed like he was just looking for interesting things to shoot, and I guess she fit the bill. The girls cooled it with their own photo setups after I talked to them. Linda complained about Tiffany having a bouquet she was posing with, but she didn't even have that when we left the house. Bethany brought a bouquet of, fake, black roses with her when Tiffany let her in, I guess. I'm pretty sure I've seen that same bouquet before. Susan didn't even care that much if she noticed at all. I've tried to tell Linda lots of times that lots of things don't need to be a problem unless you decide to make them a problem. I've also told her that you have to pick your battles with teenage girls, and that the more you try to fight with them the more you end up getting drama and pushback. I'm a bit more experienced in this area. I have 2 adult daughters, 28 and 22, who are both total daddy's girls even to this day. Tiffany is Linda's oldest kid and was her only one until our kids together. I've always had a great relationship with Tiffany even since she was a little kid, and part of that is probably because I don't pick fights with her like her mom does. Linda says that I let her do whatever she wants, but that's not true. I'm very strict with her about her grades and her chores. She used to leave huge messes in the bathroom of makeup and hair stuff. Linda fought with her about it, while I just sort of calmly explained that everyone needs to clean up after themselves and if she's going to make a mess in there she has to be the one to clean it, and it was fine. She'll babysit for me, when I ask, but again her mom always turns it into some kind of power struggle that turns into an argument. She'll try to micromanage and add additional tasks, while I'll just ask her if she can watch her little sister/brother for a bit, and if she says okay then that's good enough. Sometimes, if I need to bribe her a little, I bribe her a little. As far as her being embarrassed in front of her coworkers, they all thought Tiffany was cute. And even after Bethany crashed, it was more just something to occasionally talk about than anything anyone was scandalized over. We made a few jokes about the goth invasion. And that was it. I was around them and my dad way more than she was that night anyway, and no one minded. She even spent some time talking about makeup with my mother. So, long story long, my wife is still getting after my stepdaughter about what she wore to the wedding, being moody about it and causing unnecessary tension, while I've just told her that this doesn't matter and it doesn't have to be a thing. She's had some of her friends, notably not the bride herself, my cousin, nor any of her coworkers who were actually at the wedding, chime in about how I'm an asshole for this, but I just feel like she's making something out of nothing. Am I the asshole for letting my stepdaughter wear a black dress to a wedding? Commenter. Did Susan care? Op. No, not as far as I can tell. She didn't seem surprised or upset, and she didn't really say anything about it. She notably hasn't complained at me about it, unlike some of the allies my wife has rallied after the fact. Commenter. Nta. You pick your battles. And you weren't going to win that one with your stepdaughter. Wearing black to a wedding at 16 is kind of a big shrug. Commenter. Hot tip to other parents of goth-leaning kids, very dark green can be your friend. It's close enough to black, especially in velvet or other fancy fabric, that you might be able to convince them to wear it instead of black, if it's that big of a deal. Otherwise, trying to stick a goth kid into a peach dress, that was never going to fly. Op. She definitely knew Tiffany would hate the dress. When my wife bought it, I instantly told her I could never imagine her wearing it in a million years. She just said, well, it's what she's wearing. Update. Just a brief update in case anyone was wondering. I had a talk with Linda, and we covered a lot of the same points that people brought up here in the thread. I had already mentioned to her that getting into fights over things that don't really matter only causes tension and resentment between her and Tiffany, but I also emphasized the fact that Tiffany is almost an adult and that pushing her away might eventually make her stay away. Linda seemed to take it in when I emphasized that she has to let Tiffany be who she wants and that she can't really force the matter as if she were a little kid. We got together with both of our parents over Mother's Day, and my own mom told Linda that she thought Tiffany's outfit had been very pretty, that she admired the effort Tiffany puts into her look, and that Tiffany was a charming young lady as usual. She and I noted that it would have been much more unpleasant to have a miserable, sulky teenager being uncomfortable and resentful throughout the night. Linda's own mom was a little bit more judgmental, but she mostly held her tongue beyond the few looks and offhand remarks. Of course, everyone already knew that her views on fashion were a lot more conventional, and that she thinks I'm too lax and permissive. We don't actually see my wife's parents that often, just a few times a year. If not for the wedding, this might have been the first time seeing them since at least around Thanksgiving. But I did note, to Linda, that given the choice, Tiffany clearly spends more time with my mom than with her own biological grandmother. I did have Tiffany go ahead and apologize to Susan, just in case, and I chatted with her briefly as well. Susan hadn't initially noticed or known that Bethany wasn't invited. It was a big wedding at a big venue, and she wasn't too fussed over it. Apparently, she was still within the margins of the planning. I don't mind coddling Tiffany a little bit, and I just try to be a good dad. I am the only father that she has. My wife's late husband passed away a couple of years before we met. I could tell that she needed a dad, and I was glad to treat her the same as I had my older girls. I guess it's not always easy being a step-parent, but Tiffany and I have always gotten along, and I love her. Linda can be a bit type A, and she was definitely super stressed about the wedding day. She ended up with a lot on her plate, practically needing to step into the wedding planner's shoes. The planner's son was in the hospital. He's totally fine now, probably an allergic reaction. It was a wonder that the day went as smoothly as it did. She was hugely responsible for that.